Hi, I'm Becky and I'm part of Together Church, and I just wanted to share with you how God's encouraged me today, in the hope that it'll be an encouragement for you too. I just had something I had to do today that I was really nervous about and quite fearful actually. Quite frightened, and quite often I feel a bit bad for being frightened, because it says so much in the Bible, do not be afraid, do not be afraid. And Jesus tells us not to be afraid. But God spoke so tenderly to me today that it just really blessed me. So I just grabbed my Bible before I went out and just opened it up and prayed. And I just was drawn to this psalm. It's Psalm 110. And it just starts like this. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. The Lord sends forth from Zion your mighty scepter. Rule in the midst of your enemies. So I kind of read it and thought, I've never really understood what this means completely. And I was just thinking it'd be so good if someone did a preach on it so I could understand it a bit better. But what really struck me was just the line that said, rule in the midst of your enemies. And it has an exclamation mark at the end. And I just felt God say to me that I can rule in the midst of my enemies. So in my fears and in the things that make me want to freeze up and stop, I can rule because of him, because the Lord sends forth from Zion a mighty scepter. And he also spoke to me in the word sit, because it says sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. So it was a sense of just God's presence doing that work for me, just taking those fears away and just being with me completely. And I know this is about Jesus, and it's about him. I don't actually know exactly what it's about, but I imagine that Jesus was petrified at the thought of the cross, at the thought of going to the cross. And in fact, we know he sweated blood. He was so troubled by it. And I know that my fears are, the thing that I had to face today was nothing compared to that, obviously. But it just shows how tender God is and how merciful and loving he is, just to have gone to the cross for me and to be able to say to me, rule in the midst of your enemies. And I'm just so grateful for that. So for those of you that are feeling fearful today, just hear God say to you, rule in the midst of your enemies. Thanks, and I hope that's an encouragement to some of you today. Bye-bye.